Welcome everyone to the #1 podcast on YouTube, DeFi related. I am John, and in today's live stream, we're going to be talking about a quick market update. We have been seeing Bitcoin run up significantly, as well with Ethereum. Looks like it's trying to reattempt a breakout. So we're going to go ahead and talk about a few things that we have for this week. As usual, I hope all of you are having a wonderful day. We're going to go ahead and start off with crypto bubbles all across the board on the monthly, as we see lots and lots of green. Keep in mind the market is still down 80 to 90% overall, but it's good to go ahead and finally see some green, right? You'll notice, as I mentioned, and I've been saying this these last couple of days, right now I believe the trend is AI tokens and meme coins. As you see all across the board at the moment, AI and memes are the ones that are really winning for the month. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to continue, but I really do believe that we will start to see this continuation with AI tokens and as well the meme tokens. Welcome in. Glad to have you here today. So let's go ahead and take a look at how the weekly has been performing. A little bit neutral, nothing too crazy. The daily, we see a little bit of green, and on the hourly, a little bit more neutral. During this time in the market, especially U.S. markets, we usually start to see a little bit of red. Not much going on, even though we have had some times where we end the call and the market pumps. Right, we had that actually happen on Thursday, I believe, of last week. So we'll see what happens in the next coming days. But I think very, very positive things. I think there's still a lot of fear in the market, and we're going to go ahead and talk about that in today's live stream. But let's go ahead and talk about Trump Media raising $2.5 billion to invest in Bitcoin. Now, keep in mind, Trump has been really involved in crypto. A lot of people do not like that. You know, he launched his own NFT. He launched his own meme coin. He's also now working with Crypto.com. We also have Binance. He released his own stable coin. He has World Liberty Finance, and he also now has a Bitcoin mining company that should be going IPO soon, sometime this year. Those are the rumors. They will be owning about 20%. And Hut-A, which is a stock that I've been talking about these last couple of weeks, is a crypto mining company, and they're going to be owning about 80%. So let me know how you guys feel about this. I mean, is this bullish? Is this bearish? I know a lot of people have some mixed signals, some mixed feelings when it comes to our president being pretty involved in the markets. But yeah, it looks like they're going to be investing over $2.5 billion in Bitcoin, which, to be completely honest with me, it's no surprise. As I mentioned, he just released his own stablecoin called USD1, which actually went live, I would say, about a month ago now. And still not really any massive news, I would say, that we've heard regarding his token, USD1. This is it right here. And it's actually top 47 as well. We have over $2.15 billion in total value locked. So pretty insane. And we see a lot of the liquidity coming from Binance. And remember how I mentioned to you guys a few months ago, I mentioned how we were more than likely going to be seeing a Binance listing. And that's exactly what we have right here. Binance listing with USD1, Trump's token. So pretty interesting to see. We do see all across the board, a lot of exchanges have already listed them. I didn't even see any news regarding this, to be completely honest with you. I'm surprised I haven't come across any of this, but of course, Binance being listed as a #1. If you guys remember, I was talking about these last couple months, how Trump's team was talking with Binance. And I mentioned how I noticed that there was a lot of liquidity in PancakeSwap. So I basically kind of called that they were going to get listed on Binance. I knew that. And just to give you a heads up, it's really hard to get listed on Binance, right? Keep in mind, when tokens do go ahead and list in these exchanges, they do have to pay. But being on Binance is top tier, right? Binance is the #1 exchange, of course. Then comes in Coinbase. But as far globally, Binance is the #1. So it's really interesting to go ahead and see how all these tokens are listing. Now, the question is, will Crypto.com, will Coinbase, Kraken, and all those other platforms, especially US-based platforms, will they be launching and releasing the Trump stablecoin as well? And I meant to say listing, not launching. We'll see where things go. I haven't really seen any yields. Maybe there's probably going to be something in PancakeSwap. I'll go ahead and keep you guys updated in regards to any of this, but we'll talk a little bit more about liquidity pools shortly in about a minute. But one of the most important things that we've also been having that was actually announced these last couple of days, it was actually a few weeks, but stablecoin, the issuer Circle, who went ahead and issued USDC, is kicking off with an IPO targeting nearly $6 billion in valuation. They're looking to go ahead and go live at an expected price between $24 to $26 a piece. So we're going to go ahead and see where things go. Are you guys going to be buying Circle when it goes IPO? I've talked about this in the past alongside with Tristan, how and what our thoughts are when it comes to IPOs. Most IPOs usually are like pump and dumps. Let's go ahead and see if we can find any of these charts. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Airbnb might have been one like that, but it's a very common thing with a lot of these IPOs, right? They go live, they pump, or they usually dump and then they pump. So it's really a hit or miss. I think maybe I might buy a little bit and then stay away from it. I'm not too sure yet. I mean, usually it hasn't been a very positive thing for tokens that go live. I mean, look, this is Airbnb when it first went live around back in 2020. Did very well, went to $200, and then consolidated with the zone before breaking all the way down from its all-time high of $200 all the way to $87. Which, keep in mind, talking in stocks, that's a correction, right? For crypto, we're used to 30, 40, 50% corrections, but for the stock market, it's a little iffy. And if you would have bought Airbnb back in 2020, early 2020, 2021, and I'm assuming they were probably doing very well because of the pandemic, you'll still be in a loss, right? Because Airbnb is currently right now at around this 129. It does seem to be entering very soon. But what I'm just trying to point out is typically IPOs, they don't do too well. I mean, it's a very common thing also with a lot of crypto tokens. This is one perfect example, Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat was, I believe it was a company based on not real meat, or maybe it was real meat, but it was grass-fed beef. I've tried their beef. If it's beef or plant-based, I'm not too sure, to be completely honest with you. So, but anyways, it's some sort of product, right? Some sort of meat product, whether it's plant-based or grass-fed. I think it's grass-fed, if I'm not mistaken, because I've seen it in Carl's Jr. But yeah, same thing happened here. Went live in 2019. And of course, went ahead and went as high as $219. And of course, this looks like a freaking meme coin, 99% down. So I'm not saying this is going to exactly happen to Circle, but I'm just trying to show you that usually IPOs is a very typical thing for IPOs to go down, right? It's a pretty normal thing. So just be on the lookout. If I do buy a little bit, I'm going to buy just a bit. I'm not going to buy too much because, of course, buying Circle under $24, I think it's going to be a steal. And my biggest question that I'm really looking towards Circle is it going to be following Bitcoin, right? Because we have a tendency that a lot of these stocks in the tech sector move alongside with Bitcoin, right? So we're going to go ahead and see if that is the case. But as I mentioned, this is probably an opportunity you should consider if you are invested in the stock market. I mean, this is a platform that issues USDC. Why not be invested into a platform like that, right? But I'll go ahead and see how it goes. I know there's a lot of hype right now with what is it, ARK Invest. Kathy, what was her name? Kathy Wood, if I'm not mistaken. She said that they're going to be buying millions of dollars of Circle. So just be very cautious about it. I don't know. Like I said, usually IPOs are mostly pump and dumps. Not saying that this can't just pump, but I do think that as we start coming to an end of the bull market, I do think we could definitely go ahead and get these at a discount, including crypto miners. So we do know that the mining companies that mine Bitcoin and things like that in the stock market, such as Riot. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because keep in mind, this moves along with Bitcoin, right? So I'm actually invested in a few of these stocks like Riot and Mara because they move with Bitcoin. And that's one of the ways you could expose yourself to Bitcoin. And that was actually one of the best ways to expose back in the day before there was an ETF. But as you see, typically behavior when back in 2020, when the Riot went ahead and pumped, this was literally like the top of Bitcoin around this area. And we saw Riot go as high as $78 from as low as $1, and then went ahead and dumped over 90%, right? So this one moves with Bitcoin. Now, it hasn't been performing as strong as it usually does, but I do think we could be seeing that happening very soon. But what I'm just trying to tell you is that there's a correlation with a lot of these stocks. So I would consider just keeping your eyes out when it comes to investing in the Circle IPO, because there's going to be a lot of IPOs for crypto. I know Kraken's also coming up with one. So a lot of companies will be going public, I believe, this year, the next coming months. So just be on the lookout, just be cautious, just be aware, just put in a little bit of money and then just slowly dollar cost average. Of course, this is not financial advice, but let's go ahead and talk about this. Crypto analyst predicts XRP could soon go ahead and shoot up to $12, which I really do believe it's possible, right? I've been pretty positive and bullish with XRP since early January. I've actually been very bullish on XRP, even though I don't hold any. I do trade it here and there with leverage, but yeah, I don't hold any. The community is very, very strong. I think the whole entire issue with XRP that a lot of people have in general is that XRP is kind of like the newbie coin, right? It's like people that are new to crypto usually buy XRP and think that it's going to hit this crazy number. So, but XRP, I think to $12 is very, very possible. We'll go ahead and look into some technical analysis in a bit. But $12 has always been a range when people ask me, John, what price do you think XRP could go ahead and hit? And I always say, I think between $8 to $12. Of course, it could go up higher, but I think that would mean that we'd have to have some very, very positive news to go ahead and push it past that $12. But I think $12 XRP is very, very possible. It's not an unrealistic number, so keep that in mind. We're going to go ahead and look into some charts shortly. Another thing I wanted to go ahead and talk about is NVIDIA's earnings. We're going to go ahead and see how that goes. I don't think that has gone live yet, but we're going to go ahead and see how the Magnificent Seven go ahead and do. As we see, that includes Apple, SPX, Amazon, Meta, Google, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla. So this is basically what moves the tech sector of the market. So we're going to go ahead and see how that goes. But also NVIDIA, very, very volatile stock, right? I have a little bit, not too much, but I know NVIDIA has definitely ran up a lot these last couple months, especially I would say the last 2 years with the whole entire Bitcoin halving, and also with AI exploding and growing rapidly. This is what's also been expanding NVIDIA very quickly. Now, a meme coin. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever seen this meme coin, but Moo Dang, I believe it's the way you pronounce it. It's a meme coin. It's a baby hippo. I'm sure there's a community behind it. I'm not too sure what the story is, but I know the crypto community loves this coin, and it actually got listed in Robinhood. I believe it was last week. And if we were to go ahead and take a look at what that looks like, just so we could go ahead and see, this is a pretty high market cap token. So it is pretty high out there. So I would say it's basically considered, in my opinion, a blue chip meme coin, basically. I think it's Moo Dang, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Moo Dang. I believe it's this one, if I'm not mistaken. This one's at what? 253 million. That sounds about right. So yeah, it looks like after that listing or around before that listing, early, what was it, May 3rd, we saw a massive pump right now. So it looks like it's trying to go ahead and have this continuation to the upside, which is something that we've been seeing very common with a lot of these tokens. So the question is, will we continue to see this expansion happening? Time will tell. If you're considering to buying some of this, I think you might be a little too late to the party. Consider dollar cost averaging if that's something you want to buy. Now, you may ask, John, what is this hippo about? It's literally just a baby hippo, a cute baby hippo, and that's why the token took off. That's really what the story is. You can't make it up. That's really what you're holding on to, a hippo. That's really what that token is. Let's talk about crypto fear and greed. As we see, we have 68 level of greed. Last week we were also at 68. Actually, looks like yesterday we were at 69. So it looks like, in my opinion, I feel like this is a little bit more neutral. I feel like the euphoria hasn't really kicked in like we've seen in the past. Usually we do start to see Google Trends. Like even if we go ahead and search Google Trends, like I've shown you guys this probably not that long ago, I would say a few weeks ago. And we were looking into Google Trends with Tristan. And we actually slightly saw like Bitcoin picking up, but nothing compared to what we've seen in past cycles, right? So we go ahead and look at the term Bitcoin, and we're going to go ahead and do, let's go ahead and do the last 12 months. And if we actually look at the last 12 months of Bitcoin being searched, it's actually like really not, it hasn't really been doing much. If you really look at it, I mean, the Bitcoin trend started to pick up once again at around late or towards the end of April, early May. And as you see, we started to see this peak of Bitcoin interest coming up. But keep in mind, Bitcoin went as high as $111,000 like last week. So we realistically have not really done much with Bitcoin. Now, let's go ahead and see how it compares to what we've seen in previous cycles when Bitcoin started to pick up in interest and people started to search. Now, you may be asking, John, how does this help us with analysis? This kind of gives us an idea of how retail investors are looking at the market, or they're even paying attention to the market, right? This is one of the biggest things I've been talking about with Tristan these last couple of weeks, that the interest with crypto in general, or even Bitcoin, believe it or not, it's not here. To us, it might seem like it is. It might seem like, we're almost late to the market, or this market's ready to take off. But in reality, retail hasn't really even stepped in. And that's what we need in order for a lot of these tokens to continue to push up higher, right? Usually retail would have been would be peaking in interest around this time, and it actually really hasn't done much, right? I do not want to go ahead and discredit it, but really where it started to pick up was around October, November, which of course, that was during the election, and that's where a lot of the interest peaked. And then November, it just dumped ever since. So as I mentioned, I think this also has to do with retail, coming in at around this time in early December, and then just seeing that correction and then just pretty much giving up, right? So I think that's where we're at overall. Now, keep in mind, this is just in the US, but if we go ahead and compare it to what we've seen back in 2020, we do see that there was a lot of active searches with the term Bitcoin, and it was at around these high ranges, as you see. It was around 2020, 2021, and even as high as May 2021, which was around the peak of the market. So realistically speaking, we hit $111,000, and no one really knows about Bitcoin. Even though we hear about Bitcoin, our president is very involved in cryptocurrencies, and yet no one's really paying attention to it, believe it or not. It might seem like it because we're in this space and we, watch news and we listen to it, but the interest is not there. And that's really what we need when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. So we could go ahead and start to see a lot of these markets start to take off. Now, we do see a little bit of a peak, and if we could go ahead and continue to see this peak, this would mean we would need to go ahead and see Bitcoin continue to make new all-time highs, which I believe will then start to push Ethereum. And as Ethereum and Bitcoin are doing really well, I think that's when XRP is going to begin to rally. And XRP is going to be the token that's going to bring in the crowd of retail liquidity to go ahead and pump the rest of the market, right? So I do not think the interest is here. As you see right here, we have very low demand when it comes to crypto or just Bitcoin in general. And that's including with ETFs, institutional interest and things like that. So there's not really many people looking for Bitcoin, right? The term Bitcoin is very, very important because that's usually what people do, right? When they want to go ahead and find out about something, they'll go ahead and type it in, like, how do you buy Bitcoin? And then usually we start to see that increase. But even just the word Bitcoin, not much activity. Maybe if we were to search it with, how to buy Bitcoin, maybe that's a different terminology. I'll look into it. I'm not going to go ahead and spend too much time. I'll see if I can find any additional data. But as I mentioned, retail interest is not here. Retail interest is not here, and that's why we're not really seeing this aggressive pump in the altcoins. And that's what brings retail in, right? The meme coins, the altcoins, XRP, that is what brings retail into the market. It's not really Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin is the important asset here, but most people, especially retail, they really don't care about Bitcoin. They think they're late to the party, and that's why they have this this point of view to get into, like, what is it called? Hippo tokens, because they see a lot of zeros and like, oh wow, this Hippo token's at 25 cents. I could become super rich if it goes up to $2,000. And in reality, you might be like, it sounds kind of crazy, but in reality, that's how people think, right? So that's why we see increases in tokens like this. But we are seeing that value pick up, right? So the question is, will we be able to see this continuation and continue to go up? And that's really what I want to go ahead and see. So let's go into the Bitcoin heat map. Let's go ahead and see where we can see a lot of the activity and liquidations. We do see liquidations at around $110,000 of Bitcoin. That would be around 72 million. That would be solely on Binance. So we also do see some longs are more than likely going to get liquidated around 108,378. So if we do continue to correct, we could be seeing some sort of flash crash, if you want to call it, a liquidity grab. And I've been talking about this. We could definitely go ahead and take a pretty big swing to the downside, depending on how Bitcoin holds. Now, I haven't looked at the chart, so we're going to look at the chart shortly together. But let's go ahead and take a look at that. But before I do that, I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a quick little heads up. So I actually came across this pool 2 weeks ago, or last week, I believe it was. I can't remember, but it was recently. It was like last week. It was USDC. 40 acres. The platform's 40 acres. It's on Harvest.finance, offering 16.82%. This was actually at 21% not that long ago, and earlier today it was at around 17 to 18%. So if you all have been considering some sort of liquidity pool or vault, I would recommend checking out Harvest. They usually have some pretty good vaults. I personally like them. And as I mentioned, you can't go wrong with 16.82% APY on USDC, right? You don't have to worry about rebalancing. It's auto. You don't have to worry about getting out of range. You don't have to worry about lockup periods. You do not have to worry about any of that. You literally deposit your money and withdraw them whenever you want. Now, of course, go ahead and take everything with caution, but this platform has been around for a few years already. And everything has been fine with this platform. Now, doesn't mean it's going to continue to happen. Of course, we just saw what happened with Cetus and Sui. But once again, that's a brand new chain, right? So I don't think it's really comparable to this. But as I'm just mentioning, go ahead and check out 16.82%. I think it's pretty good, especially during this time in the market right now. If you were to ask me, John, non-financial advice, what kind of strategy would you recommend me to do? Well, the kind of strategy that I would go ahead and do during this time in the market, most people are getting FOMO, right? A lot of people are just starting to buy. And it could really play in your favor, or it could really go against you, right? And in situations like this, I always like to go ahead and wait for confirmation. We're going to go ahead and look into the charts a little bit more so you could understand what I'm talking about. But during this time in the market, the last thing you want to do is you do not want to be buying on a resistance. That's usually where a lot of selling pressure is. So textbook, when it comes to technical analysis, you usually never want to go ahead and buy on resistance. You usually do the opposite. You short, right? So usually when there's a lot of selling pressure, there's an area that it's getting very difficult for that asset class to break through. You do not buy. You wait for it to go ahead and do its thing and then make a decision. And we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about that right now together. But in the meantime, as you're waiting for the market to do its thing and you have capital ready to deploy for these opportunities, you could go ahead and just let your money sit here for a while, few days, few weeks. I think we're going to get a sign with what's going to happen in the market within the next week, week and a half. So I don't think we're going to be in this zone for too long. Of course, time will tell. But if you're looking for a place to go ahead and park your USDC, check out harvest.finance, 16.82%. This is what this is what I would recommend if you are looking for an opportunity in the market. I wouldn't really do much right now. Your buying opportunity was 2-3 weeks ago. So if you missed it, you missed it. You could buy right now in resistance, and it could really play in your favor, or it could really, go against you. But like I'm saying, you usually never want to buy resistance. Like every time you're at resistance, it usually sells, right? So this is resistance right here back when Bitcoin was at around 109 back in January and also back in December, right? And this is unfortunately the time where most people tend to buy. So just a heads up, of course, we could go ahead and see Bitcoin rip. It has been holding here pretty nicely. We talked about how I was very, very positive we were going to go ahead and see this breakout with Bitcoin to the upside to try to retest this 109, 110 due to the fact that we were holding this zone pretty well. So if Bitcoin could go ahead and continue to hold this path pretty well, we could go ahead and see Bitcoin hold this range for a few days. We could go ahead and start seeing that breakout towards the upside. And like I said, the next price target that I have for Bitcoin is $125,000. So very exciting things are looking for the market. I don't think there's anything too bearish that I see for Bitcoin. Of course, I'll give you the bearish case scenario. If we do start to see rejection here at where we're currently at around this 109 zone, expect Bitcoin to start coming back down to this 102, 103. And if we can't break through and we get rejected, we will start seeing Bitcoin coming down to at around $93,000. I think, in my opinion, this is probably the lowest we'll see Bitcoin if we do correct. Worst case scenario would be $83,000. What I'm trying to say realistically, Bitcoin could fall down as low as $83,000. I don't think it will happen, but if it does, it will still be bullish. So Bitcoin could fall as low as 83. I don't think it's going to happen. I think if anything, we'll see it between where we're currently at. The lowest, I think, in my opinion, will be around $93,000 in the short term. And it kind of would make sense because this looks like a massive inverse head and shoulders pattern. So if we do see a correction like this is actually pretty bullish, right? So a correction is not bad for the market, guys. So if we do start to see Bitcoin correct here and we do start to see Bitcoin fall, I think this is what a lot of people are expecting. And this is one of the main reasons why we're not seeing a rally in the market, even though Bitcoin made new all-time highs, because of the fact that people have no belief in this market. They kind of lost hope, So as I mentioned, worst case scenario, we see Bitcoin at $93,000. So right now we're going to go ahead and see how Bitcoin holds up pretty well. Of course, this is all going to be determined into how things go in the next coming days with the markets. And if anything aggressive politically wise happens, the markets are going to react. So Bitcoin overall looking very positive. I think the most positive we've seen it in a very long time. But of course, if we do correct, this is not the end of the world. I do think it's still very healthy. And even if we do the weekly, we do see this big, massive inverse head and shoulders, which is a massive bullish pattern, right? We called this pattern back at around this time right here at around April. I called this pattern. I mentioned how there's an inverse head and shoulders pattern. And if we saw this breakout, we were going to see this continuation to Bitcoin. So we actually had that happen. So that is just showing you how strong these patterns are, right? If you could recognize them. So we'll see how Bitcoin plays, but there is a few things we need to go ahead and keep our eyes on. For example, one of them being the NASDAQ. So as we see, the NASDAQ right now looks to be entering some sort of resistance very, very soon. We're going to be approaching all-time highs where we were back in around February and January and December during that time. So if the NASDAQ could go ahead and continue to see this breakout, I think we could continue to see this rally with Bitcoin going up. And we might not even see that correction at $93,000. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of very positive things right now. Now, the question is, will the NASDAQ, the stock market, be able to break this? Time will tell. We'll see. I think right now we could actually break it. The only thing I think will prevent this if there's any kind of negative news, tariffs, any of that kind of things that's going to shake out the market. We could probably be in this range consolidating for a while. But once again, this one is also an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Now, I've talked about this pattern, how once this pattern forms, we usually start to see a breakout in the upside. That's one of the main reasons why I was personally positioning myself in the stock market these last couple of weeks. So as you see, these inverse head and shoulders patterns are very, very strong patterns. So just be on the lookout. Like I said, stock market's looking very positive. It's exactly where we needed to see. I really want to start seeing it break above this zone around this 22,000. And that's going to go ahead and confirm we could probably see a continuation with Bitcoin. So very, very positive things. I think this is the most positive I've been with the market in a very long time. Now, this is my only concern right here. This is where I'm not 100% sure yet. And the reason why I'm telling you guys, well, let's go ahead and wait for confirmation, because gold right now is around this zone, trying to attempt this breakout at around this $3,300 zone. It's struggling between 33.7, and this is a very strong area of resistance. And I mentioned how what I want to see with gold is I want to start to see gold start to fall and start to get rejected. So we need to see gold fall, and I think that's what's really going to go ahead and really push the market. Now, keep in mind, for all of you that might not know, gold is an inverse correlation to Bitcoin, meaning if Bitcoin goes up, gold goes down, and if gold goes up, Bitcoin goes down. So what we need to start seeing gold fall, and ideally I would like to see gold start falling below $3,200. And of course, my ideal price target for gold would be at around 29, even $2,900. Even if we could fall down to 3,100, would be nice. But we do need to start to see gold get rejected, because if gold does continue to go up, it's not going to look too good. Now, this could also be a bear flag, which is a bearish pattern. So there's more than likely, I think there's going to be a probability that we are going to get rejected and fall. This is a double top, which is a bearish pattern, with a bear flag, which is also very bearish, right? And we are experiencing resistance right here. But of course, we do not want to assume that this is going to happen. We need to wait for confirmation, and confirmation would be a gold falling below $3,200. More than likely, it's going to go ahead and struggle and continue to fall down. So that's the only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about gold. But besides that, everything else is looking positive. Same thing with Ethereum. Once again, this pattern, the inverse head and shoulders pattern, very strong pattern with that breakout. So Ethereum was in this channel for a while, forming this bull flag pattern. And now it seems like actually, it's forming support at around this $2,500 range. So for ETH, what we really need to go ahead and pay attention to is breaking past $2,800, because for ETH, this has been a major area of resistance, and it really, really struggles a lot. So what we need to go ahead and see for altcoins to continue to go up, and these meme tokens and these AI tokens to go up, we need to see Ethereum break past $2,800. Once we see this breakout at around $3,000, this is where essentially what I'm going to be doing personally, I'm going to be getting aggressive into throwing money, because I was throwing money into the market around here, and of course all the way down as well. But I was buying a lot around this zone. So right now I bought a little bit, I believe last week. I can't even remember. And right now I'm just sitting on cash, because as I mentioned, I'm not going to go ahead and buy at a resistance, because if Ethereum does get rejected, we are going to be falling towards this $2,200 range. And of course, if we can't hold this, which more than likely we would, this is a pretty strong area of support. But if we were to break down below $2,200, of course, we're going to be entering $1,800, which is not something we want to see, right? So for ETH, it is looking very positive. It looks like we are getting ready to break. The question is, will we be able to? So hopefully we get a pretty good catalyst these next couple days or maybe tomorrow to go ahead and start seeing Ethereum break above this. So to keep it very, very simple, guys, write down on a piece of paper, $2,800 Ethereum. Ideally, I would like to see ETH at $3,000. And once it breaks and holds above $3,000, that's where, for me personally, I'm going to go ahead and start moving my cash into altcoins because that would confirm for me that the bottom for Ethereum is in, which the bottom would be $1,300. So once I start to see that breakout of ETH at around $3,000, I know that we're never, at least not anytime soon during the cycle, we're going to see these zones at $1,400 again. And that's going to be my confirmation to start getting aggressive into the market. But until then, I'm just going to go ahead and wait because even if it dips, I have cash ready to decide to deploy. So it could also be a really good buying opportunity. So just be on the lookout, write down $3,000 for ETH. That is really what we need to go ahead and focus on. Bitcoin is doing really well. I'm not too worried about Bitcoin, even if it corrects here. But if we do see a breakout, I think that'd be even better for Ethereum. Time will tell. But with that being said, guys, I hope all of you enjoyed today's live stream. I appreciate all of you being here. Smash that like button. Go ahead and turn on post notifications on and also comment down below. And as of course, if any of you are interested into joining our community, you're not part of it, go ahead and check out our free community down below in the description. There is a few mentors that host those sessions, including myself. I host them on Fridays. So if you are new, if you are not part of our community, I would highly recommend check us out. I will be having a free session that I'll be offering to go ahead and answer any questions in regards to decentralized masters or just the market in general if you have anything. So feel free to go ahead and check the link down below in the description to go ahead and check that out. But with that being said, guys, don't fall into the FOMO. Wait for confirmation. $3,000 is what we need to look at, and we're almost there. Do not move with where the market is. The market right now is getting FOMO of missing out, fear of missing out. That's what they're getting. So just be patient. We should go ahead and start to see this breakout very soon or break down. It's either going to break up or it's going to break down. And that's going to be, I give it probably by the end of this week, we should be having some information where this goes. Latest, I would say by next week, but we should be seeing what the market's going to do by the end of this week, I think, even ideally by the end of the weekend. So early, what is this? May, so June, the beginning of June. And I forgot, June is going to be the whole entire talk of tariffs with the UK. So if they come down, maybe that's for catalysts. Maybe that's what the market's waiting for. I didn't even think about that. With that being said, guys, if you guys are in our premium community, I do actually have office hours in a few minutes, which is why I'm going to go ahead and start heading out. So if you guys are part of our community, I'll be seeing you guys very soon in my advanced office hours. With that being said, I appreciate all of you being here, and I'll catch you guys all on Thursday with Tristan on a market update. Take care. See you guys soon. Bye.